Genshin's 5.6 Paralogism Archon Quest just dropped, and oh lord, Hoyoverse did not come to play. Albedo gets put on trial for murder, Rhinedottir eats a god, and Durin? He might be back. I actually didn't think we'd get Durin this early, but here we are. In this video, we'll walk through the full summary of what happens, including the biggest plot twists: Albedo's murder trial, Rhinedottir becoming the ruler of life, and the return of Durin. Then we'll go over some theories and speculations. What could this mean for the future of the Five Sinners, the Shining Shades, and the future of the story in general? I'm your leafy lorekeeper Minsleif, and I read the Genshin Impact lore so that you don't have to. We find ourselves back in the City of Freedom, just in time for Windbloom. Think of it as Mondstadt's equivalent of Valentine's Day, where locals offer flowers to Barbados and to the people they care about most. But this year, something's off. Love isn't in the air. People are acting strangely, couples are falling apart, and even Donna, Mondstadt's legendary D-Luke stan, suddenly doesn't care about him anymore. That's when Kaya steps in and tells the Traveler and Paimon to head to Jean, because whatever's happening is clearly bigger than just a bad case of heartbreak. A series of disturbing events has forced both the Knights of Favonius and the Church to hold an official trial. Albedo is being accused of murder and unlawful disposal of human remains. Albedo, Mondstadt's beloved alchemist, artistic genius, and oh right, the prize creation of Rhinedottir, aka Gold, the same infamous alchemist responsible for unleashing countless monstrosities across Teyvat during the Cataclysm. The same Albedo who asked Traveler, "If I lost control and destroyed Mondstadt, would you be able to stop me?" The charges are laid out by Miss Hertha, head of the logistics company, while Kaya steps in as Albedo's lawyer. Dahlia, deacon of the Church of Favonius, is there to ensure a just verdict. Witnesses, including D-Luke himself, claim they saw Albedo getting rid of human remains. Investigators have found chilling evidence: a shoe, torn clothing, human teeth, and even a human femur. Albedo insists that he never killed a human, but his alibis don't hold up in court. With the evidence stacked against him, the verdict comes in guilty. According to the until a retrial scheduled, Albedo's taken into custody and we're left in shock. Given how out of character murder is for Albedo, the Traveler begins to suspect the return of an old enemy: Susbedo. The title of the Archon Quest is Paralogism, which is a logical fallacy, a flawed argument made in good faith where someone thinks their reasoning is sound, but it actually falls apart under scrutiny. This implies that the whole case against Albedo is built on shaky logic. Albedo's innocent, and everyone's been led to the wrong conclusion by an argument that looks convincing until you dig deeper for the truth, meaning someone else is behind the murders, and so far, all signs point to Albedo's evil twin, Susbedo. But Susbedo actually brings up one of my biggest gripes with this Archon Quest, and with Genshin lore in general. This Archon Quest references two limited time events that are no longer playable, and both drop some of the wildest lore we've seen in Genshin: Shadows Amidst Snowstorms and Simulanka. Both events were beautifully written, lore-packed, and honestly some of the best Genshin has ever done, especially Simulanka. It might be my favorite summer event of all time, and I'm still salty that I didn't get to experience the event during its duration because, you know, life happened. A lot of personal life stuff and traveling happened, so although I finished the main event story, I didn't get to finish a lot of the side quests or exploration. So imagine how much more frustrating this must be for casual players or new fans who never had a chance to play Simulanka at all. That's peak lore completely locked away forever. And now that lost content is suddenly critical to understanding an Archon Quest. It's a bit frustrating, so I'll catch you up real quick with a brief summary of both events. Back in the Shadows Amidst Snowstorms event in version 2.3, we learn that Albedo isn't exactly one of a kind. Created by the infamous Rhinedottir as part of her primordial human project, now rebranded in the 5.6 Archon Quest as the Homunculus Project, Albedo was her greatest success. But before our Albedo came to be, there was a failed prototype: Susbedo. The way to differentiate them is our Albedo has a star-shaped birthmark on his deck while Susbedo does not. After being deemed a failure, Susbedo was discarded and fed to Durin, the dragon whose corpse still lies frozen in Dragonspine. Years later, Susbedo emerged from the dragon's remains, consumed by envy. He was bitter that a fellow synthetic being was living the perfect human life, so he began following Albedo, planning to replace him. During Shadows Amidst Snowstorms, Susbedo created the Fellflower variant in an attempt to kill Albedo. Given his bitterness towards Albedo and his previous attempts to take his place, it's not far-fetched to assume Susbedo is probably behind these murders, right? Rosaria pulls the Traveler and Paimon aside with a cryptic lead. he wants to meet them at Star Snatch Cliff. Turns out he is Dahlia. As the herald of the Animo Archon, Dahlia serves as the Archon's informant, knows the truth about Venti's real identity, and isn't shy about grabbing a few drinks with him. In Venti's usual mischievously charming way, he asks the traveler to assist with the investigation and help prove Albedo's innocence. To stay in contact, they bring back a familiar gadget, the Dodo communication device. It's a nice callback to the Summertime Odyssey event. Originally invented by Klee's mother Alice, Venti uses this device to stay in contact with the traveler. As the traveler digs through Albedo's room, searching for anything that could help clear his name, there's a subtle but fascinating detail tucked away on a shelf. A picture frame with a single golden rose. At first glance, it might just look like a tribute to his creator, Rhinedottir, also known as Gold, but it's likely also a clever nod to alchemy. In alchemical symbolism, a golden rose signifies the successful completion of the great work, representing the union of opposites in the attainment of a perfected state. The golden rose means a successful marriage of opposites to produce the golden child, the perfected essence of both king and queen. Rhinedottir considers Albedo her greatest creation. We also find Albedo's notebook. The same pages we saw scattered around his Dragonspine camp make another appearance here, and it's filled with alchemical circles, human transmutation formulas, and cryptic symbols. One in particular stands out. A massive eye drawn on one of the pages. It's gonna matter a lot later on. The evidence the traveler uncovers in Albedo's room doesn't exactly help his case. In fact, it makes things worse, because now he's really starting to look like a mad alchemist who needed human test subjects for his crazy experiments. Among the evidence is a map marking 2 known burial sites, the same ones witnesses claim to have seen Albedo at. But there's a third location deep in Dragonspine that hasn't been investigated yet. When the traveler and Paimon arrive, they find a disturbed grave not neatly buried like the others. This one looks like it was dug up by creatures, and whatever was buried here had clearly been there for a long time. This is where the true story unfolds. Some time ago, Albedo was confronted by Susbedo on Dragonspine, who had every intent on killing him. Their clash ended with Albedo killing Susbedo in self-defense and burying the body at the third location marked on his map. Honestly, I wish Hoyoverse had given us an animated short for this. Seeing an Albedo versus Susbedo showdown would have been so epic. The build-up's been there since version 2.3 nearly 4 years ago, and now in 5.6 we find out he's just dead, off-screen. No dramatic payoff? It's a little disappointing, especially when I felt like this plot thread needed a proper climax. This entire trial was a setup planned months in advance by Albedo and the Mondstadt crew. And at the center of it all is Durin. Durin was the abyssal dragon created by Rhinedottir who attacked Mondstadt during the Cataclysm. Dvalin took him down with a fatal bite, but in doing so swallowed Durin's toxic blood, leading to the corruption we saw all the way back in the first Archon Quest. But here's something the 5.6 Archon Quest didn't mention. Durin wasn't evil. He was initially a gentle dragon. He dreamed of dancing with Dvalin, singing with Barbados, and befriending Mondstadt. His rampage was most likely the result of hallucinations or mind control. Even in death, he bore no hatred toward the ones who killed him. Fast forward to now. After the events of Simulanka, Durin's heart began to infest the monsters of Dragonspine. It would later absorb Susbedo and his knowledge and memories. The creatures under Durin's rejuvenated influence gained the ability to mimic humans, just like the Fellflower Susbedo once created. Durin's heart may have once been gentle, but years of solitude, torment, and abyssal corruption, combined with absorbing Susbedo and all his resentment towards Albedo, may have twisted it beyond recognition. Venti later reveals he sensed a child's anger in the wind, something raw and emotional. Albedo interprets it as Durin's jealousy, a once beloved creation now forgotten lashing out at those who replaced him. Albedo realized an attack on Mondstadt was imminent. He discovered that people venturing into Dragonspine were returning different. Some were influenced by Durin's power, others were killed and replaced by shape-shifting monsters. The bodies Albedo buried were victims, people killed by these imposters. He laid the remains to rest after eliminating the threats. So Albedo devised a plan. Stage a trial to lure out the monsters hiding among the people. The Hertha who was pressing charges against him was a fake. The real Hertha, was in on it from the start, used as bait to lure the imposter. The entire trial was a trap to expose and eliminate the creatures tied to Durin's festering power. Dealing with Durin involves a personal project Albedo's been planning. At headquarters, he asks Venti to initiate a tripartite conference, a long-standing pact between the Knights and Church of Favonius, the Animo Archon, and the Hexenzirkel. In times of crisis, the mages would lend their power to Mondstadt. Apparently, Varka's chummy with the Hexenzirkel, and we might have even gotten a sneak peek of him. He's described as neither too old nor too young, with Cyrus used as a reference. If that is him, his design looks great, but fingers crossed he's not just Jeopard 2.0. Standing next to him is a mage who could be Alice, the Hexenzirkel leader, but it's not confirmed. Venti kicks off the conference using the Dodo communication device and accidentally calls Varka mid-battle before dialing up the Hexenzirkel. Alice answers, and when she hears Albedo's request, she agrees, appearing in the form of a giant Dodoko. Albedo then sends the traveler upstairs to his office because someone is waiting for them. This someone is none other than Mini Durin. Mini Durin is a dragon born from the dream world of Simulanka, created by Hexenzirkel witches Alice, Barbeloth, and Anders' daughter, the latter of whom created him out of compassion for the real Durin. Mini Durin is not the real dragon, but a storybook version, made to give Durin the happy ending in the storybook world that he was denied in the real world. In Simulanka, the residents feared him, much like Mondstadt once feared Durin. In truth, he just wanted friends, but his clumsy efforts caused chaos and fear. With help from the Wanderer and others, his true intentions were revealed, and he was transformed into a smaller, gentler form, fulfilling his dream of being accepted. He later chose to leave Simulanka and travel to Tevat with the Wanderer. When the real Durin's heart began to revive, Albedo summoned Mini Durin, hoping his inherent innocence and kindness could suppress the dragon's evil instincts. With the Wanderer's blessing, Mini Durin set off, determined to become human and do something meaningful. To merge the real Durin with Mini Durin and create a new human form, Albedo needs two incredibly rare regions: the flesh of an immortal beast from the Mare Javari and a fragment of an embryo once left behind by Rhinedottir, raw material she used to craft her own creations. Alice agrees, but only if they pass a magical chessboard trial. After being shrunk down and battling the Ascended King and Sublimated Queen, Albedo and the Traveler succeed, and Alice gives them the regents. In Dragonspine, Albedo extracts Durin's core. In this moment, we get better insight into his mindset. To him, creating life the world can't make on its own is a way to improve it. Helping life grow and evolve makes the world a better place, not because it should be done, but simply because he wants to do it. For Albedo, alchemy is merely just the pursuit of knowledge. Back in Mondstadt, during the Windbloom Festival, Venti is crowned Windbloom Star and performs a song while Albedo uses the celebration as a distraction to complete his ritual. He uses a Mondstadt citywide transmutation circle to successfully turn Mini Durin human. According to his character story, Rhinedottir told Albedo to find the truth of this world. A cryptic parting message he interprets as her way of saying, get a life. For a normal human, that might be simple to understand, but for a homunculus, not so much. For him, merely existing isn't enough. Having a life, building purpose, making choices, forming bonds is what defines humanity. And he believes that is the truth Rhinedottir wanted him to find. Becoming human is just a start. What comes next is the choices a person must make and the families they build. And well, I'll tell you right now, Albedo's family is a lot weirder than you think, especially after what we find out at the very end. Albedo insists Rhinedottir wasn't always evil. In fact, he believes she may have found peace after she devoured Nibirius. Yeah, it wouldn't be a Genshin Archon Quest without a massive lore bomb at the end, right? Albedo and Rhinedottir eventually discovered the heart of Nibirius, and afterward they went their separate ways. And Rhinedottir apparently ate it. But who is Nibirius? Nibirius is the ruler of life, also known as the Shining Shade of Life, one of the 4 primordial shades who served under the primordial one. Nibirius isn't gone though, because now Rhinedottir is Nibirius. The two have become one, meaning Rhinedottir now shares the title and power of the Shade and ruler of life. So what does this mean for the future of Genshin's story? Let's talk about theories and speculation, shall we? We're entering the part of the video where we're going to blur the line between canon information and theories, so please just keep that in mind. Some Genshin players discovered a hidden dialogue that most players might have missed. After finishing the 5.6 Archon Quest, you can talk to an NPC named Orban. You might remember him from the Festering Fang World Quest. If you haven't completed that quest beforehand, you unlock an extra line where he mentions a mysterious monster from the Marriage of Ari. I didn't finish Festering Fang myself, but because I'm in the middle of it, I don't even remember when I started it. I missed the new dialogue. In order to give Mini Durin a human body, Albedo needed 2 rare materials: an embryo from Rhinedottir's experiments and flesh from an immortal beast in the Marriage of Ari. This creature was only ever mentioned once before in the Iktomi Spirit-Seeking Scrolls event. According to a translated screenshot, the Wanderer's troop fought a monster called the Bakunawa deep in the Marriage of Ari, and carved a sigil from its body. Bakunawa is a real creature from Filipino mythology. It's a moon-eating dragon serpent, said to cause eclipses, storms, even earthquakes. In ancient Philippine mythology, the Bakunawa's movements were part of a geometric calendar and sacred Babaylan rituals. It's often shown with a coiled tail and horned nose, living in either the skies or the underworld. Rise up, my fellow Pinoy. This is it. This is the representation we've been waiting for in Genshin. This is it. And it's a freaking moon-eating dragon. Rise up! Rise up! In Genshin lore, the Bakunawa is an immortal beast living in the Sea of Ashes, a place where the wind doesn't blow. It'd be really cool if we actually meet the Bakunawa in a future quest, maybe even before we go to Nodcry, especially with all the moon connections there. If it shows up with a scar from a battle with the Wanderer's troop or the Hexen Circle, that'd be wild. If it turns out to be one of the primordial dragon sovereigns, that'd be even more awesome. Neuvillette is referred to as a Leviathan, and the Pyro Dragon sovereign Xiuhcotl takes his name from an Aztec mythological serpent. So it's not a stretch to think that the Bakunawa, a real-life moon-eating dragon from Filipino mythology, could be the name of a future dragon sovereign as well. The pattern's definitely there. If not, it's possible it's still a being from the primordial era of dragons. If not the dragon serpent Bakunawa, the Lava Walker artifact set also mentioned a phoenix in the Marriage of Ari. A phoenix is also technically an immortal creature since it will eternally go through the cycle of death and rebirth. So hear me out, we just take Signora's ashes. Last year I made a video diving into the 5 sinners of Conria and ended it on a cliffhanger about the heart of Nibirius. In my notes for part 2, back before we got to Natlan, I speculated that the heart might belong to either the ruler of death or the ruler of life. I thought I was reaching a bit, because there's no way Rhinedottir is a sinner, a Hexen Circle witch, and in possession of a primordial god's heart, right? She'd be way too OP. Well, it turns out she is that OP. Not only did she possess the heart of Nibirius, she merged with it. Rhinedottir is now the ruler of life. That's quite the resume. I'll recycle those old notes and bring them back for this video, because it's time to talk about where the 5 sinners arc could be headed. Right now, with Celestia seemingly MIA, and like how everyone else is scrambling for control, I think the 5 sinners might be aiming to reshape Teyvat. Skirk even says they're pursuing some form of perfection. And what's more perfect than becoming the gods of the very rules that govern the world? The 5 artifact pieces seem to be lining up with the power of the Shining Shades. We're probably going to have rulers for life, death, time, space, and reason for the primordial one. So let's match them up. Rhinedottir became one with Nibirius, the ruler of life. Fitting since she's the master of Chemia, the alchemical art of creating life. Rayrir, the Rayhir of Solnari, whose name can mean Moon Hunter or Avenger, could take the role of the ruler of death. In Germanic mythology, Rayrir was a powerful ruler who avenged his father's death. Vedrfolnir, Dainsleif's brother, might fit time. He was able to observe the traveler through the memories of their sibling, events that took place centuries ago. That kind of ability suggests a connection to time, or at least the ability to transcend it, making him a potential successor to Istaroth, the god of moments. Sirtologi, whose subordinate Skirk manipulates space, could fill the spot for space. Finally, there's Rhinedottir the Wise, which is one of the names of Odin in Norse mythology. That association with wisdom and leadership makes him a natural fit for the ruler of reason. Rhinedottir might be the leader of the 5 sinners and the one best positioned to take over the role of the primordial one. It's a heavy crown to bear, that's for sure. But how did Rhinedottir get the heart of Nibirius in the first place? Nibirius is one of the 4 shades created by the heavenly principles during the war against the dragon sovereigns. She helped helped create animals, plants, and humans, and even created Egeria, the first Hydro Archon, after the fall of the Hydro Sovereign. We're not sure when Tiberius died, but her heart was later found by Rhinedottir and Albedo in the depths of a dungeon. It doesn't sound like Rhinedottir was the one to kill her, however. Remember that page in Albedo's notes with the giant eye? It reminds me of Renova, another fellow shade or ruler. It's possible that this is one of the forms the Shining Shades take. Watchful, menacing eyes in the sky, silently observing Teyvat. In hindsight, those notes were already a hint that maybe Rhinedottir was already after one of the Shining Shades. But what happened after she and Tiberius merged? According to a book series, The Little Witch and the Undying Fire, written by members of the Hexenzirkel, Volume 3 hints that Rhinedottir is only occasionally lucid. That might mean she and Tiberius are sharing a body and taking turns at the wheel. Albedo even notes that his master wasn't always evil and inclined to destroy. In fact, he believes that merging with Tiberius may have finally brought her peace. Is Rhinedottir actually evil, and should we be worried that Albedo might be following in her footsteps? In this Archon Quest, we see Albedo acting a lot like his creator. He talks about alchemy as a pursuit of knowledge, about evolving life to improve the world. While he's still loyal to Mondstadt, he's eerily detached when talking about Durin and Suspedo, even comparing Suspedo to a failed plant that needed pruning. Albedo did commit the sin of creating human life without the Heavenly Principle's permission. Though, hey, maybe it's fine now that his mom is the literal ruler of life. But here's the thing, I don't think Albedo's evil. And maybe Rhinedottir was never either. Teyvat isn't what it seems. Durin thought he was singing and dancing with Mondstadt, not attacking it. All the Archons have demon names, while the Abyss Order uses heavenly terms. So who's really on which side? There's even lore that suggests Rhinedottir's actions were reactionary. The chunk of Aerosiderite states that when Conria fell, a great sinner created monsters with dark alien blood. That implies Conria was attacked first, and Rhinedottir responded with her creations. I speculated in a previous video that the blood of her creations might contain Alkahest, a silver corrosive otherworldly substance tied to Albedo's best weapon, the Cinnabar Spindle. It's poisonous, but it also has the power to sublimate matter, change solid to vapor, skipping the liquid phase entirely. Rhinedottir's other creation, LNS, claims he began as a formless being, drifting in cosmic darkness, possibly vapor given solid form. The alchemical symbol for silver is a crescent moon. Silver and the moon were linked to the brain and madness, the origin of the word lunatic being luna or moon. With their proximity to abyssal objects, it's possible her mind may have been corrupted. Speaking of the moon, did Rhinedottir use something from the moon to make her creations? And if so, is that embryo she used actually of abyssal or even lunar origin? I've got this ongoing theory that 3 of the Shining Shades were the Moon Sisters and the 4th drove the Solar Chariot. I partially covered this theory in a previous video, but maybe we'll dig into that in a future video. I just have so many regrets now about that Part 2 Sinners video. In the comments down below, let me know what you thought of this quest. I heard that people were actually 50-50 about it, which kind of surprised me, but I want to hear your thoughts and opinions anyways. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. I'm your leafy lore keeper Minsleif, and I read the Genshin Impact lore so that you don't have to.